Welcome to the Sleep and Learn channel. We invite you to listen to interesting scientific facts that will help you fall asleep gently and at the same time learn something new. Relax, close your eyes, and let a calm voice guide you into the world of knowledge and sweet sleep. The quiet giants of the north. Far in the northern wilderness, where forests stretch for thousands of kilometers and the Arctic ice drifts slowly across silent seas, two of the largest land predators on Earth live surprisingly calm and solitary lives. The polar bear and the brown bear are powerful animals, yet much of their daily existence unfolds in a quiet rhythm that feels almost peaceful when observed from afar. Polar bears live primarily in the Arctic, spending much of their time on floating sea ice. Unlike many animals that move constantly through forests or plains, polar bears often travel slowly across the frozen ocean, sometimes walking dozens of kilometers in a single day. Their large paws, which can reach nearly 30 centimeters across, act like natural snowshoes. These wide feet help distribute their weight across thin ice and also serve as powerful paddles when they swim. In fact, polar bears are among the strongest swimmers of all bears. They can swim for many hours without stopping, calmly gliding through cold Arctic waters. Some have been recorded swimming more than 100 kilometers in search of sea ice or food. Despite the harsh environment, their thick layer of fat and dense fur keep them insulated against temperatures that can drop far below freezing. Brown bears, on the other hand, inhabit a very different world. They live across vast forests, mountains, and river valleys throughout North America, Europe, and Asia. While they are often associated with strength and dominance, brown bears spend much of their lives quietly foraging for food. In many regions, berries, roots, insects, and fish make up a large part of their diet. One of the most peaceful scenes in nature occurs during salmon season in northern rivers. Brown bears gather along riverbanks as thousands of salmon swim upstream. Rather than constant chaos, the scene often becomes surprisingly calm. Bears may stand patiently in the water, waiting for the right moment to catch a fish with a quick motion of their paw. Although polar bears and brown bears live in different environments, they share many physical similarities. Both possess powerful muscles, excellent senses of smell, and thick fur adapted to cold climates. Yet their lifestyles reflect the landscapes around them. The polar bear's world is made of drifting ice and endless horizons, while the brown bear's home is shaped by forests, mountains, and flowing rivers. Another fascinating feature is their incredible sense of smell. Bears can detect scents from kilometers away. A polar bear, for example, may smell a seal beneath the ice from more than a kilometer away. This remarkable ability allows them to survive in environments where food can be rare and widely scattered. Despite their immense strength, bears are not constantly aggressive creatures. Most of the time they avoid confrontation and prefer solitude. A single bear may roam an enormous territory, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of square kilometers, rarely encountering another bear except during mating season. In this way, the lives of polar and brown bears unfold slowly and quietly across some of the most remote places on Earth. Their movements follow the rhythms of ice, rivers, seasons, and food cycles. When viewed from a distance, their world feels less like a battlefield of predators and more like a calm, ancient wilderness where patience and endurance shape every day. Masters of cold and survival. Polar bears and brown bears live in environments where survival depends on remarkable biological adaptations. Over thousands of years, these animals have developed physical traits that allow them to thrive in landscapes shaped by ice, snow, mountains, and forests. Although they share a common ancestor, their bodies have evolved in slightly different ways to match their surroundings. Polar bears are often described as perfectly designed for the Arctic. Beneath their thick fur lies a dense layer of fat that can reach up to 11 centimeters thick. This fat layer acts like a natural thermal blanket, keeping their bodies warm even when they swim through freezing water. Interestingly, the fur of a polar bear is not actually white. Each hair is transparent and hollow, which helps trap heat and scatter light, giving the bear its bright white appearance against the snow. Another surprising feature is the color of their skin. Under their fur, polar bears have black skin. This darker color absorbs heat from sunlight, helping them stay warm in the cold Arctic environment. When sunlight reaches the bear's fur, the light travels through the transparent hairs and warms the skin beneath. Polar bears also have slightly smaller ears and a longer neck than most other bears. These features are not accidental. Smaller ears reduce heat loss in the cold wind, while the longer neck helps them reach seals through breathing holes in the ice. Their streamlined bodies also help them move more easily through water when swimming long distances. Brown bears, although living in somewhat milder climates, are also well adapted to cold conditions. Their thick fur coats change with the seasons. In summer, the fur becomes lighter and shorter, helping them stay cool. By autumn, it grows longer and denser, preparing the bear for colder temperatures and the long winter ahead. One of the most fascinating adaptations of brown bears is their ability to hibernate. During winter, when food becomes scarce, many brown bears enter a deep sleep that can last several months. Inside a sheltered den, their heart rate slows dramatically, and their body temperature drops slightly. Yet unlike true hibernators, bears can wake quickly if disturbed. During this winter sleep, the bear survives entirely on the fat reserves it built during the warmer months. Their bodies recycle waste products and maintain muscle and bone strength even after months without movement. Scientists continue to study this remarkable ability, as it may offer insights into human medicine, including treatments for muscle loss and long-term inactivity. Despite their differences, both polar and brown bears rely on an extraordinary sense of smell to find food. A bear's nose is among the most sensitive in the animal kingdom. Some scientists estimate that bears may smell food from over 20 kilometers away under the right conditions. This ability is especially important in vast landscapes where food sources can be rare. Through these adaptations, polar and brown bears have become masters of survival in cold environments. Their bodies quietly demonstrate how evolution shapes animals to match their world. From transparent fur to winter hibernation, every detail of their biology reflects a long history of life in some of the planet's most challenging habitats. The hidden intelligence of bears. Although polar bears and brown bears are often admired for their physical strength, scientists have also discovered that these animals possess remarkable intelligence. Their large brains, complex behaviors, and ability to solve problems reveal a level of awareness that often surprises researchers who study wildlife in the Arctic and northern forests. Bears have one of the largest brain-to-body ratios among land carnivores. This means their brains are relatively large compared to their body size, which often correlates with advanced cognitive abilities. Observations in the wild have shown that bears are capable of learning from experience, remembering locations of food sources, and adapting their behavior to changing environments. Polar bears, for example, must constantly solve problems in order to survive in the Arctic. The frozen sea ice where they hunt seals is always shifting and breaking apart. A polar bear may need to travel across drifting ice fields, swim between large ice floes, and carefully observe breathing holes used by seals. Patience and strategy are essential. Sometimes a polar bear may wait silently beside a seal's breathing hole for more than an hour, remaining almost completely motionless until the right moment arrives. Brown bears also display impressive problem-solving skills, particularly when searching for food in complex forest ecosystems. They remember the locations of berry patches, rivers where salmon return each year, and even fallen trees that attract insects. Some studies suggest that bears can remember productive feeding areas for many years and return to them with remarkable accuracy. Another fascinating aspect of bear intelligence is their curiosity. Bears often explore unfamiliar objects with careful attention. In remote wilderness areas, researchers have observed bears turning over rocks, investigating unusual smells, or cautiously examining new objects in their territory. This curiosity helps them learn about their surroundings and discover new food opportunities. Young bears learn many of these skills from their mothers. For about 2 to 3 years, cubs remain close to their mother, observing her behavior and gradually learning how to survive. During this time, the mother teaches them where to find food, how to fish for salmon, and how to avoid danger. These early lessons are critical, as young bears must eventually live alone in vast territories. Memory plays an especially important role in the lives of both polar and brown bears. Their sense of smell helps them detect food from great distances, but memory helps them understand where and when food will appear again. A bear that remembers the seasonal timing of salmon migrations or berry growth has a major advantage in the wild. Despite living mostly solitary lives, bears are not entirely isolated animals. In places where food is abundant, such as salmon rivers in Alaska or Canada, many bears may gather peacefully in the same area. While each bear still maintains its personal space, they often tolerate one another more than expected. In these moments, subtle social behaviors appear, including body language and quiet signals that help avoid conflict. Scientists studying bear behavior often describe them as thoughtful animals, creatures that observe, learn, and adapt continuously. Their intelligence does not appear in the form of loud communication or complex group structures, but rather in patience, memory, and quiet problem-solving. The quiet rhythm of the seasons. The lives of polar bears and brown bears are deeply connected to the slow rhythm of the seasons. In the northern regions of the planet, the year unfolds in dramatic cycles of light, temperature, and food availability. For bears, survival depends on carefully following these natural patterns. In the Arctic, the life of a polar bear is closely tied to the movement of sea ice. During the colder months, the frozen ocean expands across vast areas, creating a stable platform where polar bears can hunt their primary prey, seals. The bears move across this icy world slowly and patiently, traveling great distances in search of breathing holes in the ice where seals come up for air. Spring is often the most productive time for polar bears. As the sunlight returns to the Arctic after the long winter darkness, seal pups are born in snow dens on the sea ice. This seasonal abundance of food allows polar bears to build up fat reserves that will sustain them through the more difficult months ahead. Summer in the Arctic brings a very different landscape. Much of the sea ice begins to melt and break apart, drifting away from the coasts. During this time, polar bears may be forced to swim long distances or spend weeks on land, waiting patiently for the ice to return. Many bears conserve energy during this period, resting frequently and relying on the fat they accumulated earlier in the year. Brown bears experience seasonal rhythms in a different way. In forests and mountains, the year is marked by waves of food that appear and disappear as the months pass. Spring brings fresh grasses, roots, and small animals emerging after winter. Bears that have just awakened from hibernation begin slowly rebuilding their strength. Summer provides an abundance of berries, insects, and other plant foods. Brown bears spend many hours each day feeding, sometimes consuming tens of thousands of berries in a single day. This constant foraging helps them gain weight steadily as the warm season continues. Autumn is perhaps the most important season for brown bears. Rivers fill with migrating salmon returning from the ocean to spawn. At the same time, forests produce their final berries and nuts of the year. Bears enter a phase scientists call hyperphagia, a period of intense feeding when they may eat almost continuously to prepare for winter. As winter approaches, brown bears retreat to sheltered dens, often located on hillsides, beneath tree roots, or inside hollow spaces under snow. There they enter their long winter sleep, protected from the cold while the outside world grows quiet and still. In both species, these seasonal rhythms shape every aspect of life. Bears move, hunt, rest, and reproduce according to the slow turning of the natural calendar. Rather than rushing through the year, they follow a patient pattern that has existed for thousands of generations. When we observe these animals from afar, their lives seem to mirror the steady pulse of the natural world itself. Ice grows and melts, rivers rise and fall, berries ripen and disappear, and the bears move gently through these changes, calm participants in the quiet cycles of nature. The gentle world of mother bears and cubs. Among the most touching moments in the lives of polar and brown bears are the quiet years when a mother raises her cubs. Although bears are known for their strength and independence, the bond between a mother bear and her young is one of the most patient and devoted relationships found in the animal world. For polar bears, life begins in the still darkness of a winter den. Pregnant females dig deep snow dens in Arctic snowdrifts during late autumn. Inside this sheltered chamber, protected from freezing winds, the mother gives birth during the coldest months of winter. The cubs arrive tiny and helpless, often weighing less than 1 kilogram at birth. Despite the harsh conditions outside, the den remains surprisingly warm due to the insulating snow and the mother's thick fur. For several months, the cubs remain inside, nursing and growing rapidly while the Arctic winter continues above them. By early spring, the cubs are strong enough to leave the den for the first time. This moment is one of the most remarkable sights in the Arctic wilderness. The mother carefully steps out into the bright snow, followed by her small cubs who experience sunlight and open space for the first time in their lives. During the following years, the mother polar bear becomes both teacher and protector. She shows the cubs how to travel across sea ice, how to swim in cold water, and how to search for seals beneath the ice. Young cubs often play with each other in the snow, wrestling and tumbling in ways that may seem playful but are actually important training for adult life. Brown bears also form strong family bonds. In forest and mountain environments, cubs are typically born during the winter while the mother is hibernating in her den. When spring arrives, the small cubs emerge alongside their mother into a world filled with new smells, sounds, and colors. For 2 to 3 years, the cubs remain close to their mother. During this time, they learn essential survival skills. The mother teaches them where to find berries, how to dig for roots, and how to catch fish in rivers during salmon season. Each lesson is part of a slow and careful education that prepares the cubs for a life of independence. Mother bears are also extremely protective. If danger approaches, a mother will place herself between the threat and her cubs, guiding them to safety. Yet outside of these rare moments of defense, the family's daily life is often calm and gentle. Young bears spend much of their time exploring the world around them. They climb small trees, chase insects, splash in shallow streams, and investigate new scents carried by the wind. Through curiosity and play, they gradually learn about the landscapes that will one day become their own territories. Eventually, the time comes for the cubs to leave their mother and begin their solitary lives. This separation is a natural part of bear life, but the lessons learned during those early years remain with them forever. The quiet relationship between mother bears and their cubs reveals a softer side of these powerful animals. Beneath their strength lies patience, teaching, and care, qualities that allow each new generation of bears to survive in the wild landscapes of the north. The silent influence of bears on nature. Although polar bears and brown bears often live alone, their presence quietly shapes the ecosystems around them. In many northern environments, these animals play an important role in maintaining the balance of nature. Their movements, feeding habits, and seasonal migrations influence the lives of many other species. Polar bears are often called the guardians of the Arctic ice. As top predators, They help regulate populations of seals, which are their primary source of food. By hunting seals, polar bears indirectly influence the entire Arctic marine ecosystem. This balance helps maintain healthy populations of many species that depend on the same food chains within the polar seas. When polar bears catch seals on the ice, they rarely consume the entire animal. After feeding, remains of the seal often stay on the ice, providing food for Arctic foxes, seabirds, and other scavengers. In this way, a single successful hunt may support many different animals living in the harsh Arctic environment. Brown bears have a similar ecological influence in forests and mountain regions. One of their most fascinating roles involves the annual salmon migrations. When salmon return from the ocean to spawn in freshwater rivers, brown bears gather along riverbanks to catch them. After feeding, bears often carry fish into nearby forests. There, pieces of salmon are left behind, and these remains become nutrients for the soil. Over time, the nutrients from the ocean, carried inland by salmon and bears, enrich the forest ecosystem. Scientists studying these forests have even found traces of ocean nutrients inside the rings of trees growing far from the riverbanks. Bears also play a role in spreading seeds throughout the landscape. Many of the berries they eat pass through their digestive systems and are deposited in new locations as the bears travel through their territories. These seeds may later grow into new plants, helping forests and meadows slowly expand over time. Their digging behavior also affects the land in subtle ways. While searching for roots, insects, or small animals, bears often dig into soil or overturn rocks and fallen logs. These actions may seem small, but they help aerate the soil and create new microhabitats for insects, plants, and small creatures. Even the simple act of walking through dense vegetation can create small trails that other animals later use. Over time, these paths may become part of the landscape, connecting feeding areas, rivers, and resting places for many species. Despite their large size and powerful appearance, bears influence their environment in surprisingly quiet ways. They do not dramatically reshape the land like large herds of grazing animals might. Instead, their impact spreads slowly and gently across the ecosystem, carried through nutrients, seeds, and the movement of life through forests and rivers. In this sense, polar and brown bears are not only inhabitants of their environments, they are also caretakers of the natural balance that allows these northern ecosystems to thrive.